why you should always look over your shoulder. A woman who recently lost her husband to a car accident was trying to move on. She had a hard time accepting her husband's untimely death, so it was really difficult for her. She did what she usually did every morning and got ready without him. She got out of bed, dressed herself, and went straight to work. Once she arrived, some of her coworkers were telling her about this meet and greet for single women. She originally said no, but with some good convincing, she finally agreed. She drove home and got ready and picked out a dress and was really upset because her husband bought her the dress she was going to wear. However, she continued to put the dress on because she knew deep down that he would want her to be happy. She goes to the meet and greet and meets a kind guy named Paul. The two hit it off and he invited her back to his place. Once she got inside, he said that he needed to finish up a little bit of work before the two could hang out. She said okay and sat on the couch next to him. He put his laptop in his lap and began typing. She laid on his shoulder and said, "You know what? You really remind me of my husband the way you scratch my head." He looked at her and said, "What do you mean? I'm not scratching your head."
Never play this game with your friends. Once there was a group of girls who heard about the game Baby Blue. They didn't believe in it but thought they could scare their friend Laura. So they sent Laura into a bathroom by herself. She turned off the lights, closed the door, and put her arms out as if to hold a baby. Then started chanting Baby Blue 13 times. What happened next cannot be explained. Laura felt a heavy weight in her arms. Then she felt the weight in her arms scratching her. She was terrified and didn't know what to do. She wanted to drop it, but she was afraid of what might happen if she did, so she froze, and the weight grew heavier and heavier. Suddenly, she saw a woman in the bathroom mirror with a twisted look on her face. She screamed in terror. When her friends heard her scream, they tried to open the door, but it was locked. When they finally opened the door, they found Laura on the floor. Her eyes had been scratched out. They tried to move her body, but they couldn't, because something large and invisible was pinning her to the ground.
I think that my house is haunted, but I think that it's a friendly ghost because something happened to me this morning that I literally have no other explanation for. Little backstory, I've lived in this house for about a year. And even when I'm home alone, I never really feel like I'm alone. Sometimes the lights will randomly turn on, and sometimes I see things out of the corner of my eye. So here's what happened this morning. Usually my fiance will leave for work before I even wake up. And because I can't live without caffeine, he'll set the coffee pot up for me, so all I have to do when I wake up is turn it on. So this morning I wake up, I lay in bed for a few minutes, and then I go out into the kitchen to turn on the coffee pot. And the coffee pot is already brewing my coffee. So I text Anthony and I'm like, "Hey, did you have a late start this morning? Thanks so much for starting coffee for me." He texts me back and says, "Babe, I don't know what you're talking about. I left for work 2 hours ago. Our coffee pot doesn't have a timer on it." So, thanks, ghost friend.
Story ends, the creepier it gets. In 2015, a college student was renting the basement apartment of his friend's house. One weekend, his basement roommates take off for the night, so he decides to use that time to get some homework done distraction-free. But as soon as he sits down to do his work, his friend upstairs and his family starts making all this noise, moving furniture around, shuffling feet. It's impossible to focus, so he picks up his phone and he texts his friend. "You guys sound like you're really having a good time up there. I'm not really getting anything done. Can I come up?" And his buddy says, "No one is home. We went to Wisconsin for the weekend." Terrified, he runs out the side door to get a look in the window to see who's making all the noise. All the lights are off in the house. There's not a single car in the driveway. He had been home alone the whole time.
This is why you should never answer the door late at night. A woman woke up to a knock at her door. When she opened the door, no one was there, so she went back to bed. A few hours later, she woke up again to a loud noise. She looked to her window and saw the word smile written in the frost. She reached over to call 911, but saw that a post-it note was stuck on her phone and it said, "I told you to smile." She ran out of the house, called the police, but nothing was found. The next night, she decided to put a camera in her room. But she could have never predicted what those cameras would show her. At 3 a.m., something crawled out from underneath her bed. It was a tall, pale man with no clothes and bulging veins all over his head. He walked over to the camera until his face took up the entire shot. Then his mouth widened into an unnaturally large smile. He just stared at the camera like that for hours, not blinking. The woman skipped the video until she saw herself getting out of bed and picking up the camera. And that was the last thing the cameras recorded, which meant the man never left her house.
Sephora at Kohl's has top beauty brands. Shop one of our 900+ stores and at Kohls.com today.
GMC Sierra. It's the truck. Or get 2.9% APR for 7.
Be careful what you put in your body. In 2014, a couple returned to their home to find it trashed in baffling ways. There was lotion all over the door handles, all of their shoes had had their soles ripped off of them, and someone had dumped an entire can of paint all over the toilet. Despite the obvious break-in, the police come and can't find any evidence of theft, so they leave thinking the couple's not in danger anymore. That night, the couple hears scratching underneath their bed and what sounds like a crying animal. Not wanting to find out what it was, they leave and call the cops, who come right back and start investigating the house, and they make a startling discovery in their bedroom. Wedged underneath the couple's bed was this 90-pound tiny little woman carrying a huge butcher's knife and a hypodermic needle. As they're taking this crazy lady away in handcuffs, one of the officers comes over to the couple and is like, so she was high on meth, and for at least 2 hours, she had been burrowing a hole in the underside of your mattress with that knife to get to you.